The lion doesn't turn around when a dog barks. Let that burn into your cortex, ascenders. Because real dominance doesn't respond to noise, it moves through it. In a world obsessed with attention, flashing cameras, loud voices, non-stop validation, there's one type of man who pulls the spotlight without even asking for it. He doesn't try to be seen, he simply can't be ignored. You walk into a room and people freeze for a split second. They glance once, then again, and sometimes they don't even realize why. You're not the loudest voice, you're not the flashiest dresser, you're not even trying, but still they stare. Not because you're doing something extra, but because you're doing something real. Sigma males aren't built to entertain, they're built to operate, and that very lack of performance is what makes them magnetic. The confidence that doesn't speak, the energy that doesn't chase, the stillness that speaks louder than noise. Today, we're not giving you the surface-level traits. We're not here to recycle cliches like he's mysterious or he's confident. We're going deeper into the real mechanics behind the gaze. Why do people get stuck watching Sigma males? What exactly are they seeing but not understanding? This is not just another breakdown of male archetypes. This is a deconstruction of the silent dominance that drives the Sigma presence. We're talking about micro-signals, invisible leadership, psychological pattern disruption, and energy that commands without asking. You're about to unlock 10 ultra-specific, non-obvious reasons why the Sigma male draws attention like gravity without ever trying. These are not traits you put on, these are traits you activate. And once you see them, you'll start to notice how the world reacts to you differently. But before we break this open, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, not for clout, not for clicks, for one reason only. Because you're not here to consume, you're here to ascend. This is Sigma Ascends, and you're not just watching a channel, you're stepping into a mindset, a movement, a new layer of self. Let's begin. 1. The paradox aura. There's something about the Sigma male that confuses the eye and captivates the mind. He walks in silence, but his presence makes noise. He exists on the edge of the crowd, not detached, but completely self-contained. That's the paradox. He's both visible and untouchable. And this duality isn't an act, it's his natural state. People stare at Sigma males because they can't decode the signal. One moment you seem approachable, the next you feel like a fortress. This split triggers an ancient part of the brain that seeks to understand what it can't control. Most people live in patterns, predictable, readable, explainable, but a Sigma breaks that pattern. When you embody contradiction, kindness with boundaries, humility with confidence, silence with impact, it forces attention. People don't consciously say, he's paradoxical, but they feel the pull. The brain stutters, trying to reconcile the energy. You're calm but not passive. You're reserved but not weak. You're alone but not lonely. And all of that makes you stick out in the mental landscape of anyone who sees you. That aura doesn't ask for attention. It steals it without permission. 2. Unscripted gaze-eye contact is a game most people play without strategy. They glance, they look away, they follow social scripts. But the Sigma gaze? It's something else entirely. It's not a performance, it's a scan. And that alone makes people uncomfortable, intrigued, or both. When a Sigma male locks eyes, he isn't searching for approval. He's reading the room. His eyes are tools, not decorations. They move with purpose. There's a clarity in how he looks at people that makes them feel like they're being examined, not entertained. You see through the noise, and that can feel invasive to someone who's used to hiding behind it. People often stare back, unsure whether they should hold the gaze, break it, or ask questions. The tension that builds in those seconds is electric. It says, I see you, not the mask, you. That kind of stare burns into memory. It's not aggressive, but it's definite. And definiteness, in a world of vague gestures and fake smiles, hits like lightning. The unscripted gaze makes you unforgettable, not because of what you're trying to say, but because of what you aren't trying to say. Third movement, without noise. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, the Sigma male moves like someone who already knows he's seen, even if no one's looking. That calm, calculated motion is one of the most powerful forms of non-verbal communication. You don't rush, you don't flinch, you don't fidget. Every gesture serves a purpose. People watch you because your body language speaks a language they wish they understood. It's slow power, it's composed presence. You walk into a space like you own it, not because of arrogance, but because you're anchored. There's no wasted motion, no nervous tics, no attention-seeking body shifts, and that contrast to the frantic energy of most people makes you magnetic. Even how you sit can draw eyes, the way you lean back without slouching, the way your hands rest, not clenched, not frantic, just still. These subtle signals suggest inner control. And control is attractive. Your movement isn't dramatic, it's intentional. And that's why people can't look away. You don't move to attract attention, but you attract it anyway, because motion backed by self-mastery is always louder than noise. 4. The lone wolf effect. Most people are terrified of being alone. They see solitude as a weakness, as proof that they've been rejected. But for the Sigma male, solitude is not exile, it's elevation. And when someone sees a man comfortable in his own orbit, they don't just notice him, they study him. You walk alone, not because you're unwanted, but because your direction doesn't require a parade. You're not signaling status. You're not flanked by people trying to validate your worth. You're alone by design, and that unsettles the herd. Why? Because society is built on groupthink, on safety in numbers, on approval addiction. When people see someone who exists outside of that dynamic, who's unbothered, self-sustaining and moving with focus, it makes them pause. They wonder, what does he know that we don't? You're not just physically alone, you're mentally untethered. You don't need echo chambers to feel secure. You don't cling to trends or tribes to feel identity. And that kind of autonomy radiates a power that people can't stop watching. Being alone doesn't shrink you, it sharpens you. And in a world full of noise, your silence is a siren. People stare not out of pity, but out of primal respect for someone who walks without a leash. 5. Unfiltered facial code. Your face doesn't perform, it transmits. It doesn't put on a show, it tells the truth, even when your mouth is silent. That unfiltered facial expression, the absence of artificial smiles or forced friendliness, becomes a kind of enigma. Most people are conditioned to smile when they feel nothing, to nod when they disagree, to laugh when they're annoyed. Sigma males reject that theater. You don't fake reactions just to soothe social expectations. And that kind of raw presence confuses people, so they stare. Your neutral expression isn't cold, it's calibrated. You're not sending emotional signals to fish for reactions. You're observing, processing, thinking. You look at people with the eyes of someone who's not buying the script, and that forces them to question their own performance. In a group setting, your stillness becomes the loudest energy. People start wondering what you're thinking, why you're not chiming in, why you're not rushing to agree. And they'll keep stealing glances, trying to figure out your position, your mood, your angle. That mystery isn't about hiding, it's about not performing. And people stare because they're used to masks, and your face reminds them what truth looks like. 6. Style that whispers fashion is noise, style is signal. Sigma males don't dress to scream, they dress to transmit. Your style doesn't beg for attention. It commands respect. No flashy logos, no trend chasing, just calculated simplicity that suggests depth. You choose pieces that tell a quiet story. You dress like you know exactly where you're going, even if you don't say a word. Every item serves a function, nothing extra, nothing empty. It's minimalist not because you lack options, but because you've filtered the excess. People notice you not because your outfit is loud, but because it makes sense. It fits your energy. It reflects your choices. You wear neutrals with purpose, accessories with precision, layers with strategy. That attention to detail reads as discipline, and discipline always draws attention. The way you wear your clothes also matters. You don't fidget or flaunt. You exist in your outfit like it's armor, not a costume. That calm confidence makes people stare without knowing why. In a world where most dress for validation, you dress like someone who's already validated, and that quiet confidence becomes magnetic. You're not flashy, you're focused, and people can't ignore focus when they see it worn so well. 7. Mental altitude. The average person speaks to be heard. The Sigma male speaks to be understood, and only when it matters. This difference in mental altitude changes everything. People stare at you not because you're trying to impress them, but because your words carry weight. When you talk, it's not filler, it's function. Every sentence is anchored in thought, not ego. That rare clarity forces people to tune in, even if they don't realize it. They're drawn to the way you process reality differently. You don't react, you calculate, you don't argue, you observe. You're not trying to win points. You're seeing the board from 10,000 feet. Mental altitude isn't about IQ, it's about perspective. You think long game. You ask the questions others avoid. You hold silence when others scramble for approval. That calm intellect isn't common, and people look twice when they see it in motion. The Sigma mind doesn't just analyze situations, it sees the structure behind them. You recognize patterns, you detect agendas, you spot flaws in logic without being loud about it. That quiet sharpness makes people wonder what else you see, what you already know that they've missed. And when you finally speak, people listen. Because your voice doesn't come from a place of needing attention. It comes from a place of already knowing you're enough. 8. Emotional firewalls. In a world that spills emotions online every second, the Sigma male is built differently. You don't suppress feelings, you secure them. Your emotional world is like a vault, controlled, private, selective. And that level of control fascinates people. People stare because they can't read you. Not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you simply don't perform emotions for strangers. You don't overshare, you don't complain, you don't wear your heart on your sleeve. You engineer your response system. That firewall doesn't mean you're numb. On the contrary, you feel deeply, but you govern it. And that restraint, that ability to stay grounded in chaos, that's a signal of inner power. Most people don't trust themselves emotionally. They lash out, break down, overshare. But when they see someone who's centered, calm, and composed no matter the storm, it's like watching a glitch in the simulation. They stare because you operate outside their emotional framework. You don't owe anyone an explanation of your feelings. And because you carry your emotions with sovereignty, not spectacle, it builds an aura of depth. People watch you, waiting for cracks that never come. You are not cold, you are contained. That changes how people look at you forever. 9. Shadow leadership. You don't raise your voice, you raise the vibration. Sigma males aren't leaders in the traditional sense, but still, people follow. Why? Because influence isn't about being loud. It's about alignment, and when people sense your alignment, they can't help but sync to it. You walk into a space and instantly alter the temperature. You're not barking orders, you're not begging for attention, but your energy, your posture, your stillness, it becomes the default setting for the room. Others start mirroring you without realizing it. Your calm becomes their calm. Your directness gives them permission to drop the act. You lead without announcing it. You influence without demanding it. That's the shadow leadership effect. People stare because they feel like you're in control, even when you're not trying to be. You're not the loudest, but somehow you're the center. That gravitational pull comes from integrity, consistency, and self-trust. And most people don't have that in their lives. So when they find it in you, They watch. Leadership for a Sigma isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. And when people see that kind of sovereignty, it triggers something ancient: respect. 10. Anti-desperation energy. Here's the nuclear core of why people can't stop staring. You don't need anything from them. No applause, no likes, no false intimacy. And that anti-desperation energy, that's rare air. That's what separates you from 99% of the population. Sigma males operate with a self-validating system. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. You're not waiting to be chosen. You chose yourself a long time ago. That internal security changes how you move, how you speak, how you interact. People are used to being begged for attention, whether it's through looks, tone, or subtle desperation. But when they encounter someone who truly doesn't need to be seen, someone who's walking with full momentum whether anyone's watching or not, it jolts them. They stare because your indifference is powerful, because it suggests you've tapped into something they haven't, that you're playing a deeper game, one that doesn't depend on external validation to feel alive. Your presence says, "I'm not here to win your approval, I'm here on mission." And that energy, it's unforgettable, it's addictive. It makes people want to chase you, not because you asked, but because you didn't. And there it is, Ascenders. 10 truths, not just about why people stare, but about why Sigma males shift reality wherever they go. You don't dominate with noise, you resonate with frequency. You don't chase recognition, you embody it. In a world full of simulations, you are the glitch, the calm, the edge, the signal through the static. So let the world watch, let them guess, let them stare. Because every look they throw your way is a reminder you are not like them. You are not here to fit in, you're here to ascend. Subscribe to Sigma Ascends, not to follow, but to sharpen. Because we don't do followers here, we do warriors. Until next time, stay shadow, stay sharp, and walk like the world is yours, but you've got better places to be.